tonight, because it's not, and Howard is not here, we are blessed and we are very honored. And I'm so excited to have a big book bounce around with Paige F, who has a better name for this than me. So without further ado, I'm going to hand you over to Paige after I just give a little note about the chat, which is when using the chat, we request you direct message your message to a specific individual in the room, not the meeting as a whole, and comments addressed to anyone, to everyone, I beg your pardon, but anyone other than the host of this meeting will be taken down. And if you have questions after Paige is finished, please hang about, write them down. We'll leave about 15 minutes at the end for questions and answers and brief sharebacks, if that is also what you'd like. So we also ask that when you do share, you refrain from using obscenities, which is cursing or swearing. It is our belief that cleaning up one's language is a major part of change. So I'm going to hand you over to Paige, who will, Paige, you have to like 6:15, like, and I'm so excited to get the shenanigans started. But in all seriousness, thank you. Over to you.
Shenanigans afoot. Shenanigans afoot. It's all good. I'm Paige, an alcoholic. So grateful to be here with you guys today. And yeah, we were kind of talking about what we wanted to do as a workshop, or what we wanted to do. And I gave Howard a name for the workshop. And for some reason, he didn't want to write it down and put it on the poster. And the thought that I had for describing or talking about this workshop was going to be ineffable McSchmeffable. And I can't seem to figure out why I wouldn't want to write that down. And it was a little heavy on like, Paige, how you spell that? You know what I mean? So I was thinking like Cathy and I could do this thing together. And I just might ask Cathy to break down the word ineffable for about 20 to 30 minutes. I'm just kidding. I told her that I might pretend to do that, and like, just to cause that panic, like, oh no. I would never ask Cathy to do something like that. I'm going to ask her to break down the word McSchmeffable, which shouldn't take long at all. And so the reason I was kind of joking and calling it ineffable McSchmeffable is because I truly believe the program of Alcoholics Anonymous is ineffable. The solution that I am after as an alcoholic is one that is ineffable. And if you're like, girl, you have lost me as soon as you said shenanigans, I was not following. What are you on about? What I mean to say, the word ineffable is one that means to be experienced, to be understood. And really, an actual appropriate title for the big book bounce around that we're going to do here today is about the experiential nature of Alcoholics Anonymous. Because I don't know about you, but when I come to Alcoholics Anonymous, I hear a lot of things. I hear a lot of suggestions. I hear a lot of things that are a little heavy-handed, maybe a little bit more than suggestions. And I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I don't know the action that I'm supposed to take. And I'll be honest, I don't want to take most of them. You see, I don't know about you, but my experience is when I get here, I get stuck in here. And I get stuck in my opinions about things. Now, not you guys. A Big Book Comes Alive workshop. You guys would never be judgmental or critical of anyone, especially somebody presenting a workshop. I never, but I was a big old jerk. And I would get stuck and trapped by what I thought I knew. Really, the thrust of what we're going to be looking at here today is the experiential nature of this whole thing. Not just the experiential nature of the spiritual awakening, which, to be clear, is our solution in Alcoholics Anonymous, but also the experiential nature of their program of action, but as well the experiential nature of alcoholism. And I'm going to kick us off with a silly little metaphor before we start bouncing around. And again, I'm sure it's something that you guys could never relate to. But do you know what it's like when you've had to stay sober all day? And it has just been one of those days. It was a long, draining day at work. And you have that knot in the pit of your stomach. And your skin is crawling. And you just have that thing. And you just need frickin' drink. You know what do you guys know what I'm saying? Yeah, yeah. Ooh, we might have some alcoholics in the house. My guys, my people, homies. Um, and imagine you come home from work and you sit down at the table, and what you do is you don't get that crack of the beer can, that imagine instead you open up a documentary that explains to you the intellectual process of what happens when you take a drink. So you open up your laptop and you type into YouTube, and some like smarty pants person says, "Why else the effect of alcohol on the alcoholic produces an imbibing experience, and it metabolizes in the liver and creates an intoxicant." Are you okay? Do you know what I mean? Because that is what happens when I approach Alcoholics Anonymous in an intellectual way. When I sit and I am a bystander to Alcoholics Anonymous, I don't get the effect. And what is the effect that I'm after? And it is interesting. The effect that I'm after as an alcoholic, the effect that I need from Alcoholics Anonymous, it closely mirrors the effect that I need from alcohol. See, I don't know about you, but here's my experience. You see, my experience is when I take a drink, and yeah, you crack open a can of beer and it goes, that is what happens deep inside myself. It's like a release. Do you know what I'm saying? See, I take a drink and I experience, oh, you know what I mean? My shoulders begin to fall, like, oh, I experience a sense of ease, comfort, release, relief. See, that is what I am after. And I can't get that relief talking about a drink. I can't get that relief reading about the effects of alcohol. I can't get the effect thinking about a drink. I only get the effect of alcohol by taking a drink. And that's what I need here today. I need the effects produced by Alcoholics Anonymous. Yeah, you got ineffable in the chat. Doing some dictionary corner. Now, if Maureen, if you could also look up the word McSmeffable, because it's definitely in there, and we're going to need you to define that. It's like, I'm just going to make up a definition. Spoilers, I'm so sorry. It's not a real word. I know. I know. The betrayal of trust. But it's like a little extra ineffable. You know, it's so ineffable, it's McSmeffable. You know what I mean? That's what I was after in the bottle. The McSmeffableness of alcohol. I feel so bad. You know, Howard's going to come back and he's going to listen to this. He's like, never again, Cathy. We're not going to have her back. Never again. Uh, and so here's my experience. My experience as an alcoholic is that I am after that relief. I am after that release. See, I don't know about you. I am a relief seeking missile. I need to not feel the way that I'm feeling. See, about you, I don't know about you, but my experience is now this we're going to talk about the diagnostic criteria of alcoholism. We are. This is not diagnostic of alcoholism because there are non-alcoholics who experience this. But I want to talk about it for a second because my natural state as an untreated alcoholic without alcohol in my system is this. Well, actually, you know what? Let's pop over to page 52. It wasn't where we were going to start. It's already off the rails. Nobody's surprised. This is my experience as an untreated alcoholic. Now I'm not going to take us to doctor's opinion XXVIII because it's a lot of Roman numerals and it takes a long time to find. But you should have that one, tabbed or bookmarked, earmarked. You know what I'm saying? But what is it like for me when I'm sober? My experience when I'm sober is that I'm restless, that I'm irritable, and that I'm discontent. My experience is when I'm sober that I feel a sense of emptiness and loneliness that is pervasive. My experience is that when I'm sober, I experience that feeling where I'm so depressed I can't get out of bed. My experience when I'm sober is that that's anxiety that's so bad it feels like somebody is stabbing my shoulder blades. My experience when I'm sober, my experience is that's when I'm suicidal. That's when I'm hopeless. And that is when I am positively bedeviled. And that's what we're going to read. The bedevilment's on page 52. I know I took a tonal shift there. It's going to be a roller coaster today. My bad. All right. So page 52, we had to ask ourselves why we shouldn't apply to our human problems the same readiness to change our point of view. We were having trouble with personal relationships. It's my experience that when I am sober, I'm not doing relationships well. I've burnt them to the ground as a result of my inability to control the amount that I take. But I can't show up to them the way that I would have wanted. Is my experience when I am sober that I cannot control my emotional natures, that my emotions, my feelings are all over the place. I'm from one extreme to the other. Is my experience that when I am sober, I am a prey to misery and depression. And what I mean by that is that feeling of misery and depression is on me. We're going to talk, I'm probably going to do a tiger metaphor much later on. But that it's like a tiger that gets me. You know what I'm saying? A prey to it. I can't escape it. It's got me. Misery and depression is on me, and I couldn't get it off. That is my experience that when I am sober, I cannot make a living. Now that feeling when I am sober that I cannot make a living, that does not simply mean I'm unemployed. It can be. Am I underemployed? Am I overspending? Am I living beyond my means? Is my experience that I hate my job, I hate my life, I can't scrape myself out of bed to face the day. Is that my experience sober? We haven't even diagnosed alcoholism yet. This is just my happy-go-lucky baseline, and we're not even done. Couldn't be of make a living. We had a feeling of uselessness. Is that my experience? A feeling of uselessness. We were full of fear. We were unhappy. We couldn't seem to be of real help to other people. And that is my baseline. And my problem is that is who I am when my illness is untreated. Is that your experience? That's mine. And here's my experience. My experience is that demands treatment. It demands treatment. And I've got, actually, I was going to say three. I got three ways as an alcoholic in my experience that I am going to treat that spiritual malady. Inevitably, I am going, and we're going to talk about that. Inevitably, I am going to treat that with a drink. And that's me. I'm going to treat it with a drink. Or if you're an alcoholic of my type, I'm going to treat it with suicide. I'm going to treat it with suicide because that's where I get to. And I always want to talk about this when we talk about suicide or when I talk about suicide, because I'm the one that brought up the topic. Who do I think I am? Hank Parkhurst? He does that in Two Employers. He'll be like, speaking of this, like a topic he brought up. I'm like, oh, my homies. All right. But speaking of suicide, it's important for me to understand that if I'm here today, and the only two options that I feel like I have to treat the illness, to treat the pain, to treat my current experience, is to take a drink or is to kill myself. What I want to emphasize is you don't have a solution. I don't like to use too much you language, but if you're sitting here today and you're at this workshop here today and you're thinking my solution to how I'm feeling, the solution that I have to what I am going through, that solution is suicide. Or it is to go on to the bitter ends, blotting out the consciousness of my intolerable situation as best I could. You don't got a solution. But here in Alcoholics Anonymous, we have our solution. We have a solution, one solution, and that is good news. Because if I got one, I can test it and I can try it, and it is verifiable. I know it works. If we have many solutions, I don't know if they work. I don't got time to try 36. I don't got time. I don't have hobbies. The people that know me will be like, she didn't have hobbies. She could use one. You know what I mean? Don't try to get me to crochet. I don't think I got the patience for it. Although I hear stabbing, it's a little stabbing things. I don't know. I'm trying to, whatever. Focus. See, this is why it's a big book bounce around, because I can go all over the place. But we got one solution, and we know that it works. Because it works, because it is a verifiable solution. One solution. And that solution is a spiritual awakening. Or a more apt way to say it for the purposes of this big book bounce around. What we have is a spiritual experience. And I need an experience. So that baseline demands treatment. I need to either treat it with suicide, with drinking, or I need to treat it with a spiritual experience, because I cannot live in that state of being. I don't know about you, but that is my experience. Now, when I come to Alcoholics Anonymous, again, I'm looking for all the ways I'm not like you. I'm looking for the ways that I don't belong. And what I need to have is a step one experience. And how do I get to that step one experience? Well, let's pop over to page 44 and start right there, because this is going to lay down the foundation, the baseline of what a step one experience is. And it's the first full paragraph on the on page 44. It says, in the preceding chapters, you have learned something of alcoholism. I hope so, because we had 44 pages plus the doctor's opinion, and there was even some info in the preface and the forewords. So I hope we learned something of alcoholism. We hope we've made clear the distinction between the alcoholic and the non-alcoholic. And so this is what it means to be an alcoholic. This is how we diagnose alcoholism. If, when you honestly want to, you find you cannot quit entirely, let's stop there and let's pause and let's have a look at what our experience is. Has my experience been that when I wanted to stop, that when I came to the morning after filled with guilt and shame and remorse, when I scraped myself off the bathroom floor with a level of self-hatred, vitriol that is unparalleled. I hated who I was. I hated who I became. I couldn't look myself in the mirror and I said, that is it. I never want to do it again. Is my experience that I could not achieve permanent sobriety. Now, I know you guys would come here just to listen to Howard because he's great. But if you're hanging out and listening to me, I will assure you, you have not found another solution. I am the last resort of the truly desperate. You know what I'm saying? What are the things that I tried to put between me and the first drink, to not take that first drink? Have they not worked? Let's look at that. Have they not worked? And then it says, or. It's not even and. It's or. If when drinking you have little control over the amount you take. What is my experience? And I'll tell you what mine is. My experience is that I take that drink. I experience that, you know what I'm saying? But it's like a little switch that goes off in the back of my head, and it tells me more. And wouldn't you know it, the more I drink, the thirstier I get. Do you guys get what I'm saying with that? I take a drink, and that drink demands a second. And my second drink insists on 4. And that 4th drink will not relent until I've had 8. And my 8th drink is screaming at me until I've had 16. Is that my experience? Maybe not every single time, because if you're like me, you're like, no, there was that time back in 84. There was that time back in 06. There was that time back in 2014 where I had 3 drinks and I drank like a lady and I didn't piss my pants. Don't we remember the exception rather than the rule? The rule for this alcoholic, not for you because you're classy folk, but for this alcoholic is wet pants behind the dumpster. I'm missing a shoe. How'd that happen? You know, classy, pinkies up because I'm a lady. You know what I'm saying? Behind the dumpster. And so is my experience that when I want to control it, I cannot. And is my experience that when I have wanted to stay sober, that has not worked. And if that, and it's not even an and, I'm an and sort of drinker. It is an or. But if I have either one of those, and especially if I've got both, I am in trouble. It says you are probably alcoholic. But again, this is an intellectual idea. The words in this page, if so, is solely left as the words on this page are intellectual and only intellectual. They carry no weight, they carry no depth. What I need to do is have an experience with them. I need to give myself a step one experience. I need to awaken to a step one experience. And what does a step one experience look like? Well, let's pop over to Bill's story. And let's have a look at what his step one experience looks like. And let's pop over to page 8 in Bill's story. And this is what the step one experience looks like. And a guy like Bill. And in Bill's story, page 8, first full paragraph. This is Bill Wilson's step one experience. This is an experience he has with step one. It says, no words can tell of the loneliness and despair that I found in that bitter morass of self-pity. Quicksand had stretched around me in all directions. I had met my match. I had been overwhelmed. Alcohol was my master. What had happened to him is on page 7, he had been given knowledge of what it meant to be an alcoholic. He'd been given knowledge of the physical allergy, that once he starts to drink, he cannot control the amount that he takes. But more importantly, he had been given knowledge of the mental obsession, that the time and place would come that Bill Wilson would drink again. That when he was as sober as I am today, but his illness was untreated, he would get a thought in his mind, and let me know if you've ever had a thought in your mind that looked a little something like this. This time will be different. Nobody will ever know. I'll go out for 3 drinks. You know, my problem was I was drinking with Cathy. Woo! Anytime I drink with Cathy, it gets wild. I'll drink with Andy. I bet no, didn't work. Jane, I'll drink with you. We'll give that a try. You know what I'm saying? You know, David, it'll be different this time. You know, I'm switching, right? It looks like, if you were feeling the way that I was feeling, you'd have to get drunk too. It looks like F this, F that, F you, I'm getting drunk. It looks like I'm going to kill myself anyway, so why don't I take a drink? It looks like I got the obsession that is on me. Take a drink, take a drink, take a drink, take a drink. Or it looks like I'm living my life and I get a case of the suddenlies. I have a drink in hand and I almost don't know how it happened. Do I have any experiences like that? That is the obsession of the mind, and that is what makes my alcoholism hopeless. Now, he learned that. He had that as information. He had that as self-knowledge, but self-knowledge is not sufficient for an alcoholic of my type. And so what happened? He drank again. And he goes back to the hospital and he learns of the hopeless nature of the malady. He learns that he's going to die of this thing. And what happens? The inevitable happens. He drinks again. The inevitable. And I want to emphasize that if I have alcoholism, it is not about if, it is about when. The step 1 experience is about the deep concession in and of myself that I will drink again. I have to stay sober. I need to stay sober. I want to stay sober. I have everything to live for. You must help me stay sober, but I cannot. I will drink again. And that is that step 1 experience. And that is where Bill is on page 8. On page 8. No words can tell of the loneliness, the despair, that bitter morass of self-pity, quicksand stretched around me. You know the thing about quicksand? I honestly thought that was going to be a major hazard in adulthood when I was growing up. It's not really come up. I've not found myself in quicksand. You know, as a child, I was adept at stop, drop, and roll. It has not come into play, knock on wood, nor is quicksand, because I got it. You don't struggle. But what's my experience with my alcoholism? The more I try to put things between me and the first drink, the more I try to have my way, the more I try to do it my way, the worse I get. I get up to my neck in this thing and I'm drowning and I got no way out. And so that is Bill Wilson's step 1 experience. He had been overwhelmed. Alcohol was his master. He knows he's hopeless. He knows he's going to drink again. But so far, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to help you see your experience in Bill's. I'm trying to help you see your experience in the book. But step 1, and really the thrust of this is all of these steps are experiential. They're not intellectual. They are about what I experience. And if you are like, no, Paige, I'm not like you. No, Paige, I'm different. Yeah, me too. I was super different when I got here. And to be fair, I know I'm a little extra. So if you're like, I'm not like you, that's accurate. A little weird over here. It'll be Howard next week. So please come back for that. But if you look at this and you look at this description of alcoholism and you're like, I can't hold my experience up to that. Well, go have an experience. And we've got some experiments that we can run for the scientifically minded. Let's pop over to page 31 real quick. Very bottom paragraph of page 31. So I can look at all the things that I tried to control my drinking. I can look at all the things, and that's really here are some of the methods we tried. That paragraph right below the bottom paragraph. The thrust of that is all the things we tried to control, to manage, to stay sober. All the things we tried, and I can look at all the things that I tried to put between me and the first drink, all the ways that I tried to control my drinking. But if I'm not here for that, that's okay. It says, we do not like to pronounce, very bottom paragraph, page 31, we do not like to pronounce any individuals alcoholic. Doesn't mean we're not good at it. Just says we don't like to, you know what I'm saying? Ooh. You have been pronounced, you know, judgy. It's judgy but accurate, you know. Alrighty, but you can quickly diagnose yourself. So go have an experience. That's what the book is saying. If I am not convinced, and what are we looking at? We're going to look at the physical allergy. If I am not convinced that I have this allergy, that I have this thing, that once I start to drink, I cannot control the amount that I take, we can go have an experience. It says step over to the nearest bar room and try some controlled drinking. Try to drink and stop abruptly. I want to point something out. This is what drinking and stopping abruptly looks like. It looks like 3 drinks, thereabouts, and stopping for 24 hours. That's what it looks like. Because I know if you're like me, you're like, hey, I went to the bathroom and I broke the seal. You know, that's stopping abruptly. You know, or I went to the bathroom, I did some non-conference approved dry goods. You know what I'm saying? And that was stopping abruptly. And then I'll continue on in 20 minutes. You know what I'm saying? That is not stopping abruptly. So stopping abruptly is 24 hours. And it says try it more than once. It will not take long for you to decide if you're honest with yourself about it. It may be worth the bad case of the jitters if you get full knowledge of your condition. It's saying if you don't think you have the allergy, go find out if you have the allergy. Now, the first few times where I heard that as a suggestion, I was like, whoa, that's a little harsh. Because it's like, you tell me to go drink. But and I'll also share, here's my experience when I work with sponsees and we get to this part of the book. I say, hey, this is a thing you can try. I have never had a sponsee when we got to this part of the book that said, oh yeah, I'm gonna give that a try. Never. I have always had sponsees, always. So we're like, whoa, I don't gotta try that. I know what will happen. But not every sponsee that I have ever worked with has stayed sober. Do you get what I'm saying? That experience that I have here is not enough. And so that it's telling us to go drink because the reality of my alcoholism is that I will drink again if I'm not convinced. And to be honest, even being convinced is not enough to stay sober. So if I do not think I have the allergy, I get to have an experience. Or we can just relate my experience that I already have to what's outlined in the book. But again, ineffable, mixmeffable. So you can mixmeff the NF. Oh, I didn't plan that. And I thought that was clever. You don't have to agree with me. And so if you are here today and you're like, Paige, no, I don't need to try that. I know beyond a shadow of a doubt what will happen. Well, here's a second experiment we get to run. Let's pop over to page 34. Page 30. Now, that's not even a big old bounce. It's a little bounce. Boop, boop, little bounce. And it says, the very first paragraph of page 34. It says, as we look back, we feel we had gone on drinking many years beyond the point where we could quit on our willpower. So what we're looking at here is the mental obsession. The things that we tried on our own willpower to stop and to stay stopped. Let's have a look. And so we can manage our experience. We can hold up our experience to the mental obsession. So we could try. We could say, did I try detoxes? Did I try rehabs? Did I try treatment centers? Did I try psychologists? Did I try psychiatrists? Did I try going to the gym? Did I try relationships? Did I try geographic? Did I try having kids? What are the things that I try? Did I try willpower? Did I try self-knowledge? What did I try and did it not work? But if I don't want to hold up my experience to the light, I can have an experience. And this is the experience. If anyone questions whether he has entered this dangerous area, let him try leaving liquor alone for a year. Just don't drink. Just don't drink for a year. And you can do whatever you want in the middle of it, you know? Just don't drink for a year. Some of you guys are getting like, oh no, it's getting a little dry in here, you know? Going up like kindling, don't have a cigarette next to me. Like, oh, only you can prevent forest fires, you know? I'm spiritually dry, you know? And it says if he is a real alcoholic and very far advanced, there is scant chance of success. And it does go on to say, in the early days of our drinking, we occasionally remain sober for a year or more, becoming serious drinkers again later. Though you may be able to stop for a considerable period, you may yet be a potential alcoholic. Only time in my life I ever thought I had potential. I would read that, I'm like, potential alcoholic. That's me. Look at all my potential. You know, like, ooh. Yeah, that was it for potential for Paige. Ugh. It turns out not even, because I'm a real deal sort of drunk. But what I get to do is if I am not convinced that I have the mental obsession, what can I do? I can just try to stay sober on my own. And some of you here today are like, oh no, no, I already know. I already know I can't do that. And how often have I sat with people that have said beyond a shadow of a doubt, I know I can't do that. Only a little while later, sitting on a fourth step or, taking a big old step back from AA because I don't need to be here. You know what I'm saying? And so if I do not want to hold my experience up to the light, hold my experience up to this book, hold this book up to my experience, the diagnostic criteria, what can I do? Well, I can go out, try some controlled drinking, and just summarize what we're doing. I can go out and try some controlled drinking, 3 drinks, stop for 24 hours, have another 3 drinks, stop for 24 hours, or I can just not drink for a year. Do it my way, see how it goes. And what is the purpose of that? Well, the purpose of those 2 suggestions is to bring about a step 1 experience. Now, real quick, let's go see another step 1 experience, see what it looks like. And so where we're going to go, we're not going to go far. So let's go to page 42. What we're reading is Fred's story. Don't we all love Fred? He's great. He's such a great guy. Everybody loves him. Fred. And we're going to go to the first full paragraph on page 42. It says, 2 of the members of Alcoholics Anonymous came to see me. They grinned, which I didn't like so much. And by the way, if you're wondering why they're grinning, is because the first time they met him, he was good. No, alcoholic. No. Second time they see him, he is beaten, he is broken, he is hopeless. That's the step 1 experience. I'm coming to the end of myself. We can see that he's coming there. So this is it. 2 of the members of Alcoholics Anonymous came to see me. They grinned, which I didn't like so much, and then asked me if I thought myself an alcoholic and if I were really licked this time. Am I really done? Am I really beaten? Am I really broken? Am I willing to try another way? I had to concede both propositions. They piled on me heaps of evidence to the effect that an alcoholic mentality, that mental obsession, that's what makes my predicament hopeless, such as I had exhibited in Washington, was a hopeless condition. Step 1 experience is seeing reality, seeing that as an alcoholic on my own power, I am hopeless. And it says they cited cases out of their own experience by the dozen. That's 12. This process snuffed out the last flicker of conviction that I could do the job myself. And that is a step 1 experience. That last flicker of, no, I can do it. No, I can do it my way. Let me try it my way. Let me do this. That gets snuffed out. That is his step 1. Step 1, pop over to page 30. Sorry for bouncing so quick. I know I should have I make this joke and it's so silly. I know I should have a pregnant pause, but hey, I'm not going to wait 9 months. Let's go over to page 30. See what I did there? So stupid. All right, page 30, second full paragraph. We learned that we had to fully concede to our innermost selves that we were alcoholics. This is the first step in recovery. To concede. Concede. We learned that we had to fully concede to our innermost selves. That is an experience. This is an experiential thing that we are talking about, not oh, I'm an alcoholic, but is that deep inner knowing that I am screwed. I'm going to drink again. That is what we're after. That there will never be a time in my life when I can ever safely drink ever again. And yet I will. That is what I'm after in the step 1 experience. But it's important to understand that I cannot stay sober on that experience. Bill Wilson could not stay sober on a step 1 experience. I can't stay sober. How do I stay sober on I'm going to drink again? I can't do it. So my step 1 experience, the experience that I'm after in step 1, is meant to drive me into having a step 2 experience. And let's do step 2 real quick. So let's pop over to We Agnostics, and we are going to pop over to page 47 real quick. We'll have an experience here with us today. Page 47, second full paragraph. And it says, we needed to ask ourselves but one short question. Do I now believe, or am I even willing to believe, that there is a capital P power greater than myself? That is step 2, part 1. And what opens me up to believe? Now, it gives us a lot of examples of what can open us up to believe in the book. But just in respect of time, because I'm going a little long already, what is the experience? I'll tell you mine. My experience is I came to rooms like this with people like you, people who drank the way that I drank, people who felt the way that I felt, people who had experienced what I had experienced, and yet you were not like me. You were fundamentally different. I didn't like it, and I thought you were better than me because I was miserable. Miserable. I was a pain in the butt to be around. I would suck the energy out of the room. So I was going to judge you with your little happiness. Ugh, gross. Take your joy outside. Ugh, because that's who I was. I had to get lucky. It was fun. But I saw that you had something I didn't have. And all I need to do to become willing, even willing to believe there's a capital P power greater than myself, is to see the light on in your eyes and to believe that somebody like Cathy, or somebody like Paul, or somebody like David, or somebody like Maureen or Andy have better things to do than show up to, not me, because as you find out, I don't have better things to do, but better things to do than show up to a meeting like this and lie about their experience, being willing to believe. And so your experience allows me to begin to have an experience with step 2. Now let's go to step 2, part 2, real quick. Page 53, 5-3. And we're going to the middle of the page. Second full paragraph, middle of the page. And it says, when we became alcoholics, crushed by a self-imposed crisis, rude, to call me out on my self-imposed crisis? I mean, I was kind of hoping I could blame it on somebody else. Couldn't it be my ex-imposed crisis? You know what I mean? We'll take inventory, find out I was the problem. Shocker. Alcoholics crushed by a self-imposed crisis we could not postpone. I couldn't put it off. I couldn't put it off or evade. I could not avoid it. We had to fearlessly face the proposition that either God is everything or else he is nothing. God either is or he isn't. What is our choice to be? And it's like, don't you be throwing that theology at me. It's a little early. For nobody is it early. Maybe for Kevin in Australia. I don't know how early it is. Good morning. But like, oh, it's a lot like I'm not, don't throw that at me because I can't get there from here. I cannot get to the idea of God from here. The idea of God can't keep me sober. So like, what are we talking about? Well, let's simplify it. To simplify it is, can I believe this power that has worked in your life that you are a demonstration of? Can I believe that that power could work in mine? That's it. Can the power that worked in your life, that relieved from you and removed from you the obsession of the mind to go back again and again to that first drink, that's gone in you, could I believe that that could happen to me too? Is God, Spirit of the universe, the creator, is that power bigger than my rinky-dink little problem with booze? Do you know what I mean? I'm trying to softball you the answer. I'm underhand throwing it. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm trying to do. You know? And so, yes, the answer. I'll just tell you. I'm codependent. I'll just give you the answer. And so, yeah, that's step 2. But it asks a question, and I believe when it asks a question, I need to answer it. And so God is everything or else God is nothing. God either is or he isn't. What is our choice to be? Girl, that's heavy. How do I get there? So let's have an experience. Let's those of us here today have an experience. The first thing I want us to do is I want us to bring to mind a time in our life. Let's not go too heavy in it, but just casually, lightly bring to mind a time in our life where by seconds and inches, we should not be alive and sober here today. Do I have any time in my life where I'm here and alive today by seconds and inches? Seconds and centimeters for those of us that are using the metric system, but seconds and inches. By seconds and inches, I'm alive. Is it possible? Is it possible that there is a power involved in that? Now, I also want to do another thing, and you can close your eyes if you want. It's all my shenanigans are consensual. But if you want, you can close your eyes. What I want you to do is I want you to bring to mind a moment in your life where you have felt that sense of connectedness. Maybe you're out I'm by the Rocky Mountains, and there's something about the Rocky Mountains that just, it takes your breath away. The majesty. Maybe it's a sunset. Maybe it's holding a newborn and looking them in the eye. Maybe it's a moment where you're able to show up to life in a way you never thought possible. And there was a calm that comes over you. Have I had any moment, any experience of connectedness? Chances are you have. And if I have had any moment, any experience, what I cannot say that God isn't. And if I cannot say God isn't, I cannot say God is nothing. I must, based on my own experience, I must say that God is. And if I say that God is, I am left with the concession that God is everything. And that has got us sailing well over the second step. And that's the second step experience that I get to have. Now let's talk about step 3, because the third step is very simply a decision. I'm not going to say just, because to say just is, that's a big one. Have you seen it? Sometimes in the rooms we're like, don't make major decisions in your first year. It's like, all right, you've seen that third step. That's a big decision. It is simply a decision. Not just, but simply a decision. And it is a decision to work these 12 steps as a way of life, like my life depends on it, because it does. And at the top of page 59, let's talk about this. Top of page 59, half measures availed us nothing. Which, do you know what that means? Because we kind of joke about it. I joke about it too. Clearly, I got a sense of shenanigans. I will shenan, and then I will shenan again. You know what I'm saying? So, we go in the rooms, and we're like, ha, 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 ha. Half measures, am I right? But what does that mean? What that means is nothing less than a spiritual experience, and I will drink again. That's what that means. Nothing less than a spiritual experience, and I will drink again. And I got to grow that experience. I got to have that experience. So half measures avail us nothing. I get drunk again. And it says we stood at the turning point. This is the third step, is the turning point for my entire life. And how do I get to this turning point? How do I experience this turning point for my life? Well, the first thing is I have a step 1 experience. And I was mentioning tigers earlier on. Because I don't know, because I feel like most of you have probably not been personally victimized by tigers. So if you have, I'm so sorry. But that seems like sort of a neutral, vicious animal for the metaphor. But imagine I've got this tiger that is my alcoholism, and it is after me. It is on me. And what happens is clearly early on, I see I got that, the tigers, Cathy knows what's up. Run, girl, run. So Cathy's in the forest with the tigers, and the tigers are her alcoholism, right? You're full on in this metaphor now. You're like, don't put me in. You're in, girl, hustle up. Yeah, run. The tigers are after her, right? And the tiger is at first, what we notice is the tiger is that physical allergy, right? The teeth, the claws. I cannot drink successfully. I cannot hang out with that tiger. That's not good. It's gonna get me. And so what do I need to do? I know I need to escape the tiger, but what happens is the mental obsession is the tiger closing in and taking those swipes and taking those bites, and I'm running as fast as I can. I'm doing the best that I can, and it's getting me, and it's getting me, and it's getting me, and I'm tripping. And what am I tripping over? Because ultimately it is the tiger that's driving me. And I know it's a little awkward because we're going to go back to page 59. But when on page 60, 61, 62, what am I tripping over? I'm tripping over these roots. I'm tripping over these branches. I'm tripping over these fallen logs. I'm tripping over selfishness, self-centeredness. I'm tripping over 100 forms of fear, self-delusion, self-seeking, and self-pity. I'm falling flat on my face, and the tiger comes and gets me. And I pull myself up, and I run and do a sprint, and I trip over. Me trying to run the show, and I fall, and the tiger comes and gets me. And you see what happens is I'm doing this, and I'm doing this, and I'm doing this, and I come to the edge of this cliff. and the edge of the cliff is the end of myself, and I see this tiger that is barreling down. I can't do it my way. I got nothing left, and it's the edge of this cliff. I'm on the precipice, the edge, and I'm looked down. And what there is at the edge of the cliff, I'm looking down, what I see is I see a cloud of unknowing. Some of you guys know I stole that title from an anonymous text in the medieval ages. Oh, it's a good book. But there's a cloud of unknowing because I can't see beyond the cloud. I can't see what's there. I can't see what's there. But what do is I hear your voices. I hear your voices saying, jump, jump. I promise, jump. You're going to get caught. Jump. Do it. Do it. And the experience that I have of the tiger barreling down on me, the pain and the suffering, the humiliation of trying to live my life on my own power, on my own strength, running from this thing. And I come to the end of myself and I see, I don't even see, but I hear. I hear you that's saying it's worth it, just jump. And that's how I begin to have a third step experience. I take that leap of faith because that's what I need to do. I need to jump. And real quick, let's pop over. Let's pop over to page 63. And what we're going to read are the third step promises. Now, the third step is simply a decision. Nothing gets turned over in step 3. If you're like, oh, I'm not sure about, no, the 12 steps. The 12 steps are what turn my will and my life over to God's care. The 12 steps, man, if I stay on step 3, I haven't made a decision. But more powerful than that, if I stay on step 3, nothing has happened. The tiger is going to get me. If I try to intellectualize God, the tiger is going to get me. None of this is intellectual. All of this is experiential. And this is our experience. So it says, when we sincerely took such a position, that position is I am done managing my life. God is managing my life. God is running the show. We had a new capital E employer. Being all powerful, he provided what we needed if we kept close to him and performed his work well. This is not an idea. It's an idea if I am right reading it in this page. Okay, yeah, God's an employer. What is he got, a suit and tie? You know? And then like provided what I needed if I like what? But this is our experience. This is our experience. Those of us who have taken this position that I am fired for managing my life. There is nobody less qualified to manage my life than mine because I was actively trying to end it. That is not good. You know, I'm taking this business to bankruptcy. The dumpster of my life is on fire and it's going off a different cliff. You know what I'm saying? New employer. A new employer, being all powerful, he provided what we needed if we kept close to him and performed his work well. What is being asked of me? I'm not running the show. I'm out of the delusion of the chair of God. Actually, I'm going to make a stupid metaphor. You know how Cathy's sitting in not God's chair, Howard's chair. It's not that one. Cathy's sitting in Howard's chair, right? And it's like, Howard will be back next week. He'll be on a little stool. She's like, my chair now, Howard. Yeah. But it's like, imagine sitting in this God chair. It's a delusion. I describe it in many ways like playing video games with a controller that's not plugged in, right? So it's like Cathy sitting at Howard's chair trying to be Howard, but the computer's not plugged in. And she's doing it. She's hosting the meeting, but the needed power is not there. And so what does that look like? Being all powerful, he provided what we needed if we kept close to him and performed his work well. How do I keep close to God? How do I have an experience with God? Because an idea of God cannot keep me sober. A conception of God cannot keep me sober. What keeps me sober is experience. I need an experience of God. What keeps me sober, how I keep close to him as I work these 12 steps is a way of life, like my life depends on it because it does. And when it says perform his work well, what the heck are we talking about? Love and service. Love and service. That is God's work for a drunk like me, especially to his drunks, but to all God's homies, all God's kids. You know what I'm saying? That is what God's called me to do, and that is what I do. Now, if I show up to life like this, working these 12 steps as a way of life, and showing up to be of love and service in everything that I do, this is the result. And this is the experience that I need. This is what I'm after in the bottle. This is not an idea, because if it is an idea or simply on these pages, it's nothing. It's meaningless. It's words. I need this to happen in my life, and it happens in my life, the result of actions, not wishing, not thinking. It's doing. And it's established on such a footing. The footing, I'm working these 12 steps as a way of life, service in everything I do. We became less and less interested in ourselves, our little plans and designs. So my little plans, and listen, some of you are like, my little plans and designs, girl, that's all I got. Why would I want to give that up? Do you not see that? Oh, some of them are good, but none of them worked, none of them worked. So I got less and less interested in my little plans and my design. More and more, we became interested in seeing what we could contribute to life. And this is something that I do not know. This is something that is ineffable, mixmeffable. I only know through experience. When I show up to life focused on what I can get, you guys might get this one. What I can get, there's never enough. Just like there was never enough in the bottle. You know what I'm saying? It's never enough. I need you to validate me. I need you to like me. I need you to give me power, prestige, money, success, a new car. It's never enough. But when I show up to life focused on what I can give, how I can serve, how I can help, wouldn't you know it? And some of you guys know what I'm talking about. It is abundant. It is overflowing. I am given far beyond anything I could have imagined. The more I give love, the more I see love is everywhere. The more I give tolerance and patience and kindness and understanding, the more that I see that is everywhere. And it says, so that is, again, experiential. As we felt new power flow in, as we enjoyed, and new power. It's not my power, because my power did not work. It is a power flowing through me. See, what are these 12 steps? It's about clearing away the channel between me and God. I'm getting the stuff in me out of the way so God can flow through me, That's important, because there's not a stopgap on this thing. I'm not putting the plug in the jug. Do you know what I mean? We can't plug that spiritual connection. I got to let that plug out so God can flow through me. I've got to show up to be of service. The power of God has to flow through me. If it is not flowing through me, it's not going. It's not going. And it's not happening. So I needed to flow through me. More and more, we became interested in seeing what we could contribute to life as we felt new power flow in, as we enjoyed peace of mind, as we discovered we could face life successfully. Facing life successfully is not an intellectual idea. Ever, anyone here, I'm sure, not you guys, ever show up to a final exam you didn't study for? I cannot think my way into showing up to a final exam that I can face that successfully. No, I'll try to be like, it'll be fine. But I got to take the action, right? That feeling that I can show up to life in a way I never thought possible. This thing is experiential. These are not ideas. These are our experiences. As we became conscious of his presence, it is a with knowing. See, in step 2, so often we trip over the idea, I don't know God. When it talks about God of our understanding, I got a 1930s dictionary because I'm fun at parties. David knows what's up. I was at his place. We're having a pizza party. It's the best time, and I'm like, David, do you happen to have a copy of the original manuscript? It's a party, and we were rocking and rolling. Woo! That happened. That is a true story. Paul was there; he can verify. Although he was very jet lagged, so I wouldn't. Yeah, he knows what's up. But like in my 1930s dictionary, the word understand means to know through experience. I don't understand God here. I understand God based on my experience. I need an experience of God just as I needed an experience with the bottle. I needed an experience with alcohol. Nothing less than that experience with alcohol, and I wasn't okay. Nothing less than a spiritual awakening, and I'm not okay. Let's keep going because I'm not doing well for time. As we discovered we could face life successfully, as we became conscious of his presence, so this idea becomes an experience. We began to lose our fear of today, tomorrow, the hereafter. We were reborn. I cannot think my way into reborn. I cannot think my way into this experience. I need to take the actions of the steps as outlined in this book, and the result of that is reborn. The result of that is my fear falling from me. The result of that is facing life in a way that I have never thought possible. And so what do I need to do? I need to, I'm at that precipice of that cliff. I take that leap of faith. I make that decision and I get to work. And I get to work and I put pen to paper on inventory. And I know nobody here would ever try to skirt around the inventory process. No, Paige, it's not a resentment. No, I'm just a little frustrated. So I made some columns that say, it's not a resentment. I'm just a little frustrated. I got some, I'm just a little frustrated columns, because I know what we're like. but so joking aside, joking not aside, shenanigans, here's what's important. I know what it's like to try to say, no, it's not a resentment. No. What's my experience when I say it's not a resentment? That feeling doesn't leave. That gnawing feeling eats away. And even a no Paige, it's just, I'm a little frustrated. That's the only time you'll hang out with me and David with this thesaurus is when we're trying to avoid because David has a very high page tolerance. He'll hang out with me in a thesaurus. But the only time that we're hanging out with a thesaurus is when we're trying to say it's not a resentment. Oh, I will find some words to use to call it something else. But I'm just a little frustrated. Imagine that little frustrated. It's like a pebble in the shoe, going around all day, every day, just a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Right? And it's there, and I got to get free of it. And here's my experience is I cannot get free trying to intellectualize the resentment. I cannot think my way through the resentment. I need to take the actions of inventory to get freedom from the resentment. And some of the actions include the sick man prayer on page 67. God help me to see, and you can see it on page 67. God help me to show this person the same pity, patience, and tolerance that I would cheerfully grant a sick friend. This is a sick person. How can I be helpful to them? God, save me from being angry. Thy will, not mine, be done. And I begin to look resolutely for my mistakes. Where did I set the ball rolling? Where have I done these things? Where was I selfish, dishonest, self-seeking, and afraid? And as I go through that process, everything changes. Everything changes. And here's how we know this is experiential. If you've not gone through this process, you might not know what I'm talking about. But if you have sat down with a sponsee and you've taken them through this work and you've gotten to them to this part, which is still very early in the process, because it doesn't take long to get well. But the pedal hits the metal on step 4. Like that 4 through 9 is the chunk of what we're doing. This is the motor, this is the engine, and we continue that. So if I've not written inventory, I promise we have not done any steps. Really, because I haven't conceded nothing in step 1. I haven't followed up on my decision. You know what I'm saying? But when I do this, and I share this with others, it's at this point in the process, those of you who've worked with others, isn't this when that light comes on in their eyes? There's a light. There is a tangible light that you can see in their eyes that happens right here. And it cannot happen. It cannot happen when we're thinking about it. It doesn't happen when it can happen if we're talking it through the columns. That's where it can happen. But if we're just chatting about what, like Brenda in accounting, what a B over there, Brenda, that doesn't get us there. But when we utilize this process, there's a change that happens. For those of you who have written inventory, did you ever have a resentment that you thought you could never, ever get free of? And you've gotten free of it? More powerful than that, did you ever have a resentment that, man, you didn't think you could get free of, and then you ended up making an amends? That is the power. Now, if you have not had that experience, you're like, that sounds horrible. I don't want any of that. But the freedom that is on offer is not an idea. The freedom that is on offer is an experience. Really quickly, page 60, page 68. It's going to be in the second full paragraph. And this is this is a promise that is in fears. And it says, just to the extent that we do as we think he would have us. This power that I don't know, that I'm just beginning to build a relationship and humbly rely on him. Does he enable us to match calamity with serenity? The calamity is the pain, the suffering, the trauma. A modern word for calamity might just be trauma. That gets matched with serenity. And I can't get there from here. I can't get there from my thinking. I can't get there from my beliefs. I can't think my way out of fear. I don't know about you. What happens when I am in fear and the thinking? Oh, we just on that little carousel of dread going around and around. And the longer I'm riding that thing, the faster it's going. I have to take the actions of the prayer of the inventory process. 68, we're on 68, but we're going to be bouncing around real quick. So don't worry about it. I'll tell you where we're going next, right? And well, yeah, let's pop over 69. Fair enough. And I'm just gonna touch on 69, like the page. I'm not gonna do anything appropriate. Sorry, it's rude. Howard's not gonna have me back. But but on what we're talking about, what are we trying to do with that third section of inventory, sex inventory? What are we trying to do? What we are trying to do is mold and shape a sane and sound ideal for my future sex life. But what did we read earlier on in the book? Not in this bounce around, but like chronologically in the book, that there is no power in an idea. There is no power in an ideal. There is no power in moral and philosophical convictions galore. There is not power in that. So what do I need? I need to develop and mold and shape this sane, sound, and sex ideal. And I need to take it to God on a daily basis. Take it to prayer, to take it to meditation, to let this power flow through me. Some of us have known for a long time that there is behavior that we should not be engaging in. And that knowing that I should not be doing it has no power to stop me. The needed power isn't there. The needed power is in God, higher power, creator, spirit of the universe. I need to access this power, build a relationship with this power, have this power flow through me. Oh man, I wasn't planning on doing this, but we don't have time for this, but we're doing it. Let's pop over to page 73. I got 10 minutes left. Unless I missed the time wrong and you're like, you've been going over for way longer than you're supposed to. But I think you said 15 after. So,
If you need another couple of minutes to get the point across, you can.
oh, no, don't give me that. Don't give me that. You give me an inch, I'll take a mile. Or give me a centimeter, I'll take a kilometer. Because, metric, imperial. Anyway, focus, 73. Oh man, I wasn't going to do the Missy Elliott promises, but these on page 73 are the Missy Elliott promises. And if you're like, girl, what? When is Howard coming back? He doesn't call them that. Not yet. He will. It's fun. But the Missy Elliott promises. If you guys remember in like 2002, 2003, Missy Elliott had this song, Reverse It. And in the song, like she goes, hey, you got a big, let me search it. And she must mean you've got a big book. Let me search it for clear-cut directions on how to recover. That's clearly what she means. Can't think of any other meaning. And in that song, she reverses the statement. And so let's look what it says. So this is our experience when we do. So we're talking about step 5. This is our experience when I do not take the actions of step 5, when the steps are intellectual. Yeah, she's like Missy Elliott promises, page 73. Thank you, Maureen, for making this feel very formal and official. And if you're wondering, I don't think other people call it. Nobody else calls it the Missy Elliott promises. So if you go to your sponsor and you're like, can we talk about the Missy Elliott promises? That's my bad. That's my bad. So we're going to read it. This is the experience that we have when the 5th step is an idea and not an action that I have taken. I mean, more powerful than that is like, I'm going to drink again, but these are fun. So let's do these. So it says, having persevered with the rest of the program, they wondered why they fell. We think the reason is that they never completed their house cleaning. They took inventory all right, but they hung on to some of the worst items in stock. They only thought they had lost their egoism and fear. They only thought they had humbled themselves, but they had not learned enough humility, fearlessness, and honesty in the sense that we find necessary until they told someone else all their life story. So if I do not do a 5th step of fearless and thorough searching, sharing my inventory with others, I will be stuck in that idea where egoism and fear is a reality for me. And humility is simply an over there idea. But if I do the action of the 5th step, we get a Missy Elliott. Woo-hoo! Let's flip down, flip it, and reverse it. So if I am searching and fearless and thorough in a 5th step, and I let go of the worst items in stock, those things I don't want to share with another human, I let them out, and I find out I'm not alone, and I am deeply and profoundly loved by a power which I did not like and did not barely believed in when I got here. I will experience a losing my egoism and fear. I will experience humbling myself, and that's growing in this humility, which is to say, equality. I'm no better than you, I'm no worse than you. And I will learn an experiential learning of humility, fearlessness, and honesty. I will experience those things at a profound level if I take those actions. Now, I'm kind of like, oh, I might be pushing it. All right, let's pop over to page 75, and we're going to talk real quick about the actual step 5 promises. And if you're looking at the directions on how I actually go and take and share my 5th step with somebody, it's page 75, second full paragraph. We pocket our pride and go to it. We go to it. How do I do my 5th step? I do it. This is a program of action. We're into action, not into thinking, not into my beliefs, not into pontificating, into action. And the result is so I illuminate every twist of character, every dark cranny of the past. Once we've taken this step withholding nothing, so I fully let it all out. This is the result. We are delighted. Let me tell you, I didn't think the result of step 5 would be delighted. You know what I mean? I really didn't. None of that seemed delightful. But that has been my experience, which is, again, why this is ineffable, why this is experiential, because what I know will keep me from taking the actions that I need to save my life. Because this is what I need. And this is what I don't know about you, this is what I was after in the bottle. We can look the world in the eye. I'm no better than you. I'm no worse than you. We're equals. We can be alone at perfect peace and ease. That pervasive sense of loneliness and emptiness is gone. And it says our fears fall from us. And when they fall from me, I know I didn't do it, because when it's me, I just make those suckers worse. We begin to feel the nearness of our Creator. It's not an over there idea of God. It is an experience of God in the here and now. We may have had certain spiritual beliefs, because a belief is a place to start, but a belief cannot keep me sober. Even the belief that I am an alcoholic and I'm going to drink again cannot keep me sober. Belief in the solution cannot keep me sober. Experiencing the solution is what I need for permanent contented sobriety. It says we may have had certain spiritual beliefs, but we now begin to have a spiritual experience. The feeling that the drink problem has disappeared will often come strongly. I need that. We feel we are on the capital B, capital H broad highway. This is a road, not a vacation destination. This is a path. This is a way of life. It does not end. This is how I live my life. So it says broad highway, walking hand in hand with the spirit of the universe, capital S, capital U. That is an experience. It does nothing to, try to imagine like, what are you going to hopscotch with God? It's nothing when it's here. But when I know that I'm walking this path in here because I've taken some actions, it is an experience. It is an experience, and that's what I'm after. So real quick, we're going to do the ninth step promises. I mean, part of me wants to skip them because they get a little overblown. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, 10-step promises, where it's at. But real quick. And Cathy's not back yet, so I'm going over. I really hope she can't hear that. She probably can. So bottom of page 83. And what I want to kick us off, bottom of 83. If we're painstaking about this phase of our development, what phase of our development? These are the 9-step promises. So actively and intentionally making amends. If I am painstaking and actually going and making my amends, not talking about it, not sitting in the rooms, but actually doing it, this is the result. We will be amazed before we are halfway through. Amazed. I never think I'm going to be amazed on the, before doing side of the amends. I get twisty, I get resisty, I get the pre-amends digestive issues, and that is experiential. If you're a little backed up and you want to take some Metamucil, no, just go make an amends. It'll get going. This is what I mean. Those of you that are laughing, you're like, girl, I know. Those of you that are like, what? Go make some amends. You'll find out. You know, it works better than the AA coffee. I promise you that. That stuff will get things moving too, but works better. And so it says, we will be amazed before we're halfway through. We are going to know, but it is not a no in here. It is a no in my heart. No, experientially, a new freedom and a new happiness. We will not regret the past nor wish to shut the door on it. Why that's important is because when I was trying to not regret the past before, I was trying to lock it in a dark room deep inside myself, shove it away and throw away the key. But it was still there and still there and still there. You know, like that telltale heart, Edgar Allan Poe. It's this like guilty conscience essentially underneath the floorboard. I knew it was there, but now it's gone. It's gone. I'm free. It says we will comprehend. Now, comprehend again is a word that might point to intellectual. It is not. To comprehend is a profound understanding. The word serenity. To live serenity. And it says we will know peace. Not like, yeah, let me define peace in the dictionary. I would, because I love my dictionary. But it is to know from here through my heart. And it says no matter how far down the scale we have gone, we will see how our experience can benefit others. That cannot happen when it is an idea. It can only happen when I am going out from here to benefit others. That feeling of uselessness and self-pity will disappear. That was a feeling I have had since birth. I came out of the womb and I felt useless and full of self-pity. I cannot think my way out of it because for however many years up until it fell away from me in the rooms, not really in the rooms, but in the process of a rigorous application of the 12 steps, only then did it begin to fall away. And it says self-seeking will slip away. Man, I have tried to use self upon self, and self does not overcome self, and I wish it would. I wish it would. You know what I mean? I want to overcome self with self, which is an ego-feeding proposition. I got to defeat my ego. Ooh, look at me. Look at my ego. I defeated my ego. You know what I'm saying? So it says our whole attitude and outlook upon life will change. A new pair of glasses. I can't change my spiritual vision more than I can change my physical vision. I need power. Fear of people and of economic insecurity will leave us. Falls away. That is an experience. It says, well, intuitively. To be intuitive, I can't get there from here. That intuition grows with action. With making these amends, we will intuitively know how to handle situations which used to baffle us. And we will suddenly realize that God, and it is God that does the heavy lifting in Alcoholics Anonymous, not me. I take some actions that I don't like. I take some actions that I don't think will help. And when I read this, and if I've not had the experience, it sounds like ridiculous. How could God possibly help me? Because God is an idea. But if I take these actions, this power becomes an experience, and God does for me what I could not do for myself. God does for us what we could not do for ourselves. And what is the main thing that I could not do for myself? Well, let's go to the bottom. Let's go to the bottom of that same page on page 84. I'm going over. I'm sorry. I'll make amends after, and then I will get freedom from the amends process. Don't go out and make more harms to make amends. No. I know some of you are like, whoa, what a good idea. No, don't do that. Bottom of page 84, the step 10 promises. There's so much more that I could not do by myself, but when I get here, man, this is what I needed to hear. And we have ceased fighting anything or anyone, even alcohol, for by this time sanity will have returned. The mental obsession is gone. This time will be different. Nobody will ever know. I'll take 3 drinks. I'm going to kill myself anyways. It's gone. It's gone. We will seldom be interested in liquor, and if tempted, we recoil from it as from a hot flame. We react sanely and normally, and we will find that this has happened automatically. It happens to me. I can't think my way through the drink. Page 24 tells me that's not possible. But this is gone. It happens to me. And we will see that our new attitude toward liquor has been given us without any thought or effort on our part. It just comes. That is the miracle of it. We are not fighting it, neither are we avoiding temptation. We feel as though we've been placed in a position of neutrality, safe and protected. We've not even sworn off. Instead, the problem has been removed. It does not exist for us. We are neither cocky nor are we afraid. That is our experience. That is not an idea. That is our experience. Those of us who have recovered as a rigorous application of the 12 steps in our lives and continue to do this work on a daily basis, that is our experience. Because, and why I say daily basis, that is how we react so long as we keep in fit spiritual condition. And there are some 12-step promises, but just to be respectful of time, I'm not going to take us to the promises on page 89, but they are powerful. What I'm going to do in respect of time is take us to the promise. There's some promises on page 100. Let's pop over to page 100, and I'll wrap us up with this because 5 minutes over feels like I'm pushing it. So page 100, first full paragraph. Both you and the new man. See, these step 12 promises. I'm working with others. I'm carrying this message to others. It does not happen if I'm putting the plug within me and not working with others, not being of service. It does not happen. I've got to let that power flow through. I've got to work with others. Both you and the new man must walk day by day in the path of spiritual progress. Not progress, not perfection. Spiritual progress. Because I can progress with the new car, the new relationship, the new house, the new job, the new whatever. None of that keeps me sober. Check that with our experience. How am I progressing spiritually? That's what matters here. If you persist, remarkable things will happen. When we look back, we realize the things which came to us when we put ourselves in God's hands were better than anything we could have planned. Step 3, I'm at the edge of that precipice. I'm taking that leap of faith because I can hear you beyond that cloud of unknowing. Take a leap, jump. You can do it. I promise it's worth it. And I do. And where do I land? As I go through that cloud, where do I land? As I land in God's hands, where I'm held and deeply, deeply loved. And I can only know that from experience. And I can only know that by taking that leap of faith. It says, follow the dictates of a capital H, capital P, higher power. What does that mean? These 12 steps. These 12 steps. And you will presently live in a new and wonderful world, no matter what your present circumstances. I can't get there from here. All these promises that we are reading, all these things that we're talking about, they're ideas on a page, but they come to life when I follow the directions on a page and it becomes my experience. These 12 steps, Alcoholics Anonymous, is experiential. And if you have not had the experience yet, let us help you because this thing's pretty ineffable, mishmappable. Over to you, Cathy.